Now, I'm gonna check on my phone. But now we're good. Okay, we did
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Hello,
Awesome.
happy
Hello.
Friday. Um,
Yay. Friday.
we just had an amazing conversation. I know we're getting started a little bit late, everybody, but you can always watch the replay. We were chatting, and if you haven't met me, by the way, I'm Gabrielle. I'm the admin of this group, and I am here with my colleague turned friend, Rachel, and we are talking about lots of good things today. We were just chatting before, but anyway, if you're here live, you can comment down below. I'm going to open it up on my phone and we're happy to answer any questions. If you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay. And I would love, Rachel, if you would just start us off and give us a little intro about who you are and what you do.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Gabrielle, for having me on this wonderful Friday. The weather's nice here. I'm in Michigan. The weather's pretty nice here. We're excited that it's finally warm around here. So thank you. Thanks for having me. Um, as you said, my name's Rachel. I'm Rachel Bentley, and I'm an LPC here in Michigan, a licensed professional counselor, and started a group practice in 2019 and grew the group into we are around 40, a group of around 40 clinicians. And I just fast forwarded 6 years because we're 6 years old now. But the reason I mentioned the group is because sort of along the way of building the group and trying to sustain such a large group, people in my own community started coming to me with all the questions. How'd you do this? How do you handle these parts and pieces? How did you sustain the pandemic? Like, can I meet you for coffee and pick your brain? A lot of those kinds of conversations were happening over the course of the last few years, and it really made me realize that if I was going to help people start or grow their practices, I needed to put some boundaries around it. And so decided to start my consulting company, Next Level Private Practice. And didn't start out in the beginning wanting to be a consultant necessarily, but that's the way that it evolved. And I love like empowering and mentoring people and have done that in as a therapist and as a clinical supervisor. So I just thought, well, let's put some boundaries around this. So Next Level was born a couple of years ago. And so I really am sort of working in both businesses. The group practice, I have a leadership team that really helps run the business and really does run the business for me. I'll give them lots of credit if they're here listening. Um, and I'm fortunate enough to have such a great team so that I can focus on some of these consulting pieces and helping people start and grow their practices. So I think that's enough to say about me as an intro. Yes.
No, but that's super helpful because I think that people always ask, how do you get into consulting? How do you start doing this? And my journey is the exact same as yours. People just started asking me, like, how did you
Yes.
do this? How did you sell your practice? How did you start a group practice? And then you just kind of build on that because there's a need and people already recognize and know and probably trust you. So I
Yes.
appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, that's how it all unfolded, but it wasn't ever this, master plan, so to speak. Yeah. So,
And how many clinicians are in your practice now?
we have right around 40. I always say I think right now we may be at 38. I always say like right around 40 because that's the number we've been at for the last few years and sort of where I want us to stay. I don't want us to get much bigger in number.
Mhm.
So we're always right around that number. Yeah.
I ask that because I also think that's inspirational. And I know some people are in this group are just starting their journey, and some people are at the same or close to the same level as you. So just want everybody to know there you can get there if you want to, and you also don't have to do that if you don't want to. So
No, both things are so true. And sometimes when I'm talking with folks that want to grow into the larger group, I'm a realist in that there are good parts about this and really hard parts about this. And if you're going to be a group of this size, you really have to be able to trust to hire people to do a lot of the business aspects because you can't do them anymore. So you have to delegate, you
yeah.
have to trust folks, you have to essentially put your baby in the arms of others, so to speak. And
Mhm.
sometimes that's really hard for folks. And when I say it that way, they're like, wait. what? This is my baby. I don't know if I can hand it off. But you have to delegate or you can't sustain, you can't survive this. You're working around the clock. Yeah.
That is my number one thing. And I delegate so much, especially the second time around. The first time in my private practice, my group practice, I did not delegate enough. And then when I did, it was a little bit too late. And so I learned my lesson. This time, I'm like handing off stuff every single day. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. You do it for me.
Yes, you almost have to like practice it, right? And sometimes, of course, we'll run into we've delegated to someone and they drop the ball, or they're unethical, or they're, I'll say, a little bit shady. I don't know whatever words I want to say, but people that happens to people, and then they feel, they pull back. They're like, well, maybe I shouldn't move forward in delegating or growing in this way or that way because I've been burned. And I think that's happened probably to all of us at some point. So it makes the delegation even harder.
It does.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this actually reminds me, because it's kind of similar, of something that I was at the Jane Ambassadors Retreat this past weekend, and
Mhm.
their founder was saying this, and a therapy client of mine told me this analogy like 5 years ago, I think now, and I had kind of forgotten about it, but it's kind of the similar vein, and it's basically that like you have lots of balls in the air, right? Like you have your family and your business and clients and I don't know, all the other things that we do, exercise and meditate, and whatever it is. And there are all
Yeah.
these balls in the air, and some of them are plastic and some of them are glass. So,
Mhm.
like the plastic ones, they're going to be fine if you drop them. That might just be something that's not important, right? But the important things are glass balls. Like that might be, I don't know, picking your kids up from school. Like that
Yeah.
one's kind of
The
important, right?
priorities. Yeah.
So and that
Yes.
will also help you delegate and prioritize like what can be dropped and won't, no one's gonna die if it happens. So
Yes. I love that. And I've heard someone told me that before, and it made me think, like, I started getting really curious about, like, I think that as therapists, as business owners, like we're pretty good at prioritizing or like figuring things out, or right, developing our checklists. We have a lot of like management type parts of us that really help us be successful. But what I noticed when I started thinking about priority, I noticed, wow, there are some glass balls that I'm avoiding even looking at.
yeah,
I
same.
know they're glass and I know they have to be attended to, but I'm not attending to them. Like, uh-oh, right? Like, so I don't think it's a matter of us not being able to figure out the priority. It's sometimes we don't want to pick up that glass ball, right? For some reason. Like, and I think that I see that around like money and finance with therapists when they don't want to look at that stuff, right?
Yep.
We weren't taught to manage money. We see that around marketing, like self-marketing and developing our niche areas. And like, so those two areas are, I don't want to look at those. I wasn't trained to. Someone else can. That's
Yep.
always
And
an interesting, right? Like getting curious about, well, why is it that we don't want to look at those?
yep.
Yeah.
Are you avoiding it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Those are important.
They are, and you
Yeah.
can't, even when it's scary. I mean, I sometimes still struggle with the money and the numbers too. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to look at it sometimes because I'm
Mhm.
afraid. And I put like a lot of emphasis on those things. And I
Mhm.
have worked really hard, probably the past year, to just kind of detach from that and just think of it as morally neutral. Like, it's not good
Yes.
or bad, it's
Yeah.
just information. And I need that information to know how to move forward. If I can afford to hire, I don't know, a copywriter or whatever, like I
Yeah.
need information to know how to make business decisions that aren't out of fear, because those are never good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's hard to make those decisions, like you said, without knowing your numbers. And we do it somehow. I'm sure we've all done it where we've made business decision, financial decisions that we weren't sure that we could afford. We just thought we could.
Hmm.
And sometimes that turns out okay, and sometimes it just doesn't, right? So,
It's all a learning lesson.
yes, definitely, definitely.
Um, I see people watching live, so if you have questions, let us know. But I want to pivot and ask you about the summit, which I'm
Mhm.
speaking at in September. And like,
Yeah.
if you could tell us a little bit about it. And I also just would love to know, like, how was this born? Why did you decide to do a summit?
Yes, thank you for asking and thank you for being there to speak. So
I'm
I want to thank you very
excited.
much for that. So when I when I developed the consulting company and started thinking about, well, what is the work that I actually want to do? Because there's a lot of need and a lot of different kinds of ask and people wanting, our knowledge about different things. And so I had to start narrowing down, well, what is it that I actually want to offer and what do I actually want to help with? One of my first ideas was, well, I know the value that I have seen in doing like going to my own summits and retreats and conferences and networking events. The value for me has been building community, building connection with other people that do what I do or do similar things. I love being in community with people that are way far ahead on the journey for me because they're inspirational. I can learn from them, right? So that, and I've been able to cultivate a community and keep maintain friendships and maintain relationships with people that I trust. And I found so much value in that that I was like, I want to create something, another platform for us to do that as a private practice community. Think I want to have a conference, a summit. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but it was like one of the first ideas that I had. But then I started thinking about, well, should we do it yet? What should it look like? Right? Like sort of the development of the logistics took a little while. And of course, we have to throw in our old friend self-doubt
Our bestie.
of, well, why would you create a summit? Who's going to attend? What do you mean? Right. So there was definitely some, I guess, internal conflicts in my own system around, yes, we want to do this and we know there will be a lot of value, but also, is anyone going to come? So there was a lot of that kind of wrestling inside my own system for a while. But first and foremost, I want the summit to be a place where people can come and build community and connection, learn from each other, be inspired by each other, learn about new ideas and new perspectives. So for me, that's at the heart of it. If that, yeah, that's at the heart of the summit for me.
I love that. What a beautiful mission. And really quick, Amy, our friend from Ireland, is here. And she just wanted to say hi.
Hi, Amy. Glad that you're here.
And you know what? That's actually perfect because before we started recording, we were having like this very raw conversation
Yeah.
about this exact topic and talking about community and connection. And I think that well, we both said this. This is like why we go on those retreats is for that.
Yeah.
And I have met some of my best friends on retreats and through these things.
Mhm.
It's how I met Patrick, actually.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we've obviously become pretty close since we're traveling all over the world together.
Hmm.
And I think that is the piece that I was saying this earlier to you is so hard to explain because people are always asking like what kind of content am I going to get out of it, are there CEs, blah blah blah, and it's like that is good, but what's even more magical and special is the friendships and the connection, and you just don't get that anyway else, like in these special little moments that we create and these experiences that we create. That's how
Hmm.
you form those relationships, and those relationships are everything. They're the currency of business, to make it a little less, a little less therapy,
Yes.
a little more business. It's true. Like that's how I've grown, but I just value relationships and friendships so much. And Melissa is here too, and she says she's so happy to know both of us from retreats. And I am too. Like, I'm so glad that I met all of you in Ireland and that we've been able to stay in touch and like keep growing and connecting together.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to say hi to Melissa too. But yes, absolutely. And, and we will have the CEs and we do have 30 speakers. And so we do have some of that other stuff that folks ask about for, why should I come to this summit? And we are really going to try to balance the business and the clinical aspects of private practice, which is something that I'm passionate about too, because sometimes when you go to conferences, it's one or the other. It's business development and or clinical development. So we're really trying to bring both of those aspects in, as well as, and I know Gabrielle, you've been hearing this, I've been hearing this in the consulting world from our clients. We're getting burned out and doing all this individual therapy and spending all this time in the chair. So we also want some ideas about what else is there? What are some other revenue streams we can tap into? And so we'll have folks talking about some of those things as well. So there's just, I think, a big variety of things that are going to be happening. But I am hoping, and maybe you are too, to meet new people, to see some of our old friends, to really walk away with a community that we feel like supports us.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping people walk away with, along with obviously some of the knowledge and ideas.
Oh, and right now we were talking about this too. Like, we need community more than ever, considering what the world is like. So it will just be good to keep expanding on that. And I did want to ask you also, like, if you could, not to put you on the spot, but if you could tell us some of the topics at the summit that people can look forward to, because 30 speakers is amazing. Like, there is going to be a lot of knowledge in that space.
Yes. So there are so many speakers talking about so many things. If folks go, and I'll talk about some of them, but if folks go on to our website, nextlevelprivatepractice.com, you'll see at the top, there's a banner for the summit. And if you click on the summit page, all the topics, all the speakers are there. Um, but what I really wanted, how I've tried to design our speakers too, are to really, if you need help with certain business aspects, like if you're, like billing and credentialing, if you need help with marketing, we have a few different marketing focused speakers. If you need help with hiring, if you're thinking about how to be a better leader, how to be a better clinical supervisor, right? If you're really looking at like a business enhancement stuff in your private practice, there's a lot of that kind of stuff, right? And then there's also some clinical development. I know that there is a speaker coming in to talk about like how we integrate psychedelics into our clinical work, how we talk about and think about dissociation. And Gabrielle, your topic too, just how we, like, in the leadership vein, I feel like your topic is both. It could be
Yeah.
business or
I
clinical. There's
tried
an
to blend
integration.
because I like
Yeah,
both also. So it was like I need a little bit of
yeah.
both.
Yes, and so we have some topics that are going to be integrating both the business and the clinical side. And then of course we have our folks that are going to talk about thinking outside the box of traditional therapy. How do we engage in other revenue streams where we won't burn out as much. We won't have to spend 30 client hours a week in the chair, right? So we have a lot of speakers that will be talking about doing other things outside of individual therapy. So we have those subset of folks. I don't feel like I'm doing it justice right now without the list in front of me. But we have a lot. We have a lot of different topics for a lot of different folks.
You do,
Yeah.
and I think it's needed in this space.
Yeah.
Like that's why I was glad when I heard about it because I just don't feel like at least any of the things that I've seen or heard of for conferences like fit into what you're doing. I feel like there may have been some in the past, but then they just kind of like fell off. And like this year, for sure, there's like, to me, I haven't seen anything like it. I mean, there is Scotland, but
And
we
we'll
are
both
having
be
quite a few
there. And
speakers.
yes, if you want to travel internationally, I highly recommend it. Because I think it's going to be, well, we're going to get to see each other, but we're going to get to learn from some of the speakers, including yourself. And I don't know, traveling too brings this sort of element of energy for me, like traveling to a new place, meeting new people, seeing some of my favorite people. Like there's just, yes, travel can also be stressful, but there's just this, to me, it's energizing as well.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, and I think
Yeah.
that's why I love traveling so much is because I'm always inspired. Even, when and maybe I'm just like a little bit toxic positivity sometimes for myself, but whatever it works for me.
Yeah.
Like even when it's the weather is bad or something stressful happens, like I'm like, whatever, it's just an experience and this is just part of it. And like now I know and I made it through and it's fine. And so I love also like that challenge and like being pushed a little bit too. And just experiencing different cultures. And I just, again, feel so inspired when I'm in other places outside of home where I get a different viewpoint and different people.
Yes. Yes, and I our the summit will be in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which obviously is here in the States, but one of the things for me when I was designing where do we want to have the summit, I mean, I'm in Michigan, so I'm like, okay, let's look at different aspects. And our state, it's pretty wild cardy. Like we have a lot of non-diverse areas and then some diverse areas. And so for me, the summit, it's also very important to me that it's inclusive for all people. We actually have an inclusivity statement on the landing page. But I want, if people want to come, please read that statement and make sure you're aligned with all people, all parts being welcome, people being in an environment where they can feel safe to be who they are. That's very, very important to me. And so I want, that's the kind of vibe that we're trying to attract. And having it in a place like Grand Rapids, it's our second biggest city, but it's diverse. There's a ton of culture there. There's a ton of cool things to see and do. And so for me, it was really important to have it also in a physical place where all people would feel welcome to attend. So I want to add that because that's really an
Hmm.
important piece. And it's highlighted on the summit landing page, but I really want to emphasize that. That's really important too.
Yeah, I'm glad you are emphasizing it because it is important, and I want people who are watching this to know that as well.
Yeah.
Um, just know that it is a safe place. So, which I appreciate you always putting that out there and speaking up because that's important. So,
It is, and I don't want anyone coming wondering like, well, am I going to be discriminated against or am I going to be unsafe or right? And I think one of the things that we, in at least my perspective of like being in Ireland with you and Patrick and others, Melissa and Amy that are here, like there's you meet people and you understand people aren't perfect and that there's like this sense of vulnerability and none of us like to nobody like signs up to be vulnerable.
yeah.
You know what I want to do today? I want to be really vulnerable and see if I get rejected or not. Um, but if you have a space where you can go in and be vulnerable and admit, hey, I feel like I'm screwing up in my business, or I feel like I don't know what I need to, or I just have questions that I think are stupid, quote unquote. If you have a space where you can actually go in and like be real and like say those kinds of things and not be judged and have people supporting you and empowering you, like that's just a whole different like vibe. That's really another like sort of vibe I want to create in our summit because in some spaces that
Mhm,
we've both been to, there's not an encouragement to like come with your questions, be who you are.
mhm.
It's okay to be vulnerable. This is a supportive community. That's why those are the people I want to come. I know
Yes.
you and I, but that's why I'm trying to draw that because I want everyone to feel like there are no dumb questions, that they can get support, that they can admit, hey, guess what? I don't know everything. Hey, guess what? I've made some mistakes. I've screwed some things up. I am here to get some support.
Yeah.
Um, it's okay to come in with that,
Which
right?
I love that too, because
Yeah.
I think also as entrepreneurs, that's even more important because we do have to spend so much time and effort and resources being vulnerable, being uncomfortable, putting ourselves out there, not knowing if it's right or wrong. And if you have people in your life who don't champion that or who are not entrepreneurial,
Mhm.
they're going to shit on you and be like, that is stupid. Why would you do that? Why don't you just get a real job? Like things like that, when you are taking risks. And so I
Yes.
think it's even more important when we work for ourselves that you need to surround yourself with people who get it, who have been there. And we've all made mistakes and will continue to, but we're not necessarily playing it safe.
Well, we're taking risks. Like I always say, yes, they should be calculated,
Yes.
but we are, as entrepreneurs, we are risk takers. And this is such thank you for mentioning, like sometimes the judgment that we get from people that aren't entrepreneurs, maybe in our life, or maybe on socials or whatever, because that influences us too, right? Like that's a whole thing. Like It's like, okay, well, you're not really my people if you're going to judge me or like just tell me what I should be doing and not supporting some of my vision and my dreams, right? But then I see like within our own like therapist, business owner communities, sometimes we get that kind of judgment,
Yeah.
right? Where someone might come up and, well, why would you think that like they're just like judgment, like shade thrown at people. And I think that sometimes when people are hesitant to come to things like this,
Yeah.
like, am I going to be judged? Can I ask some of these vulnerable questions? Yeah, I'm really struggling. Or, you know what? I don't have any money left in my bank account to make payroll. Or, I mean, there can be a million things that are happening with our businesses, right? There's lots of twists and turns along this road. And so just having a place where you're not going to feel like you have to know everything, be perfect, where pretend like everything's great, right?
Mhm.
Now, if everything is great in your business and you want to come and talk about that, awesome. We'd love to hear that because
Yes, we want to hear that too.
I love hearing the good stories because I think as consultants we hear a lot of the things are going south stories.
Yeah.
And we're trying to help with those, but we want to hear the good stuff too. We want to hear the success stories too.
We
Yeah,
do, and we want to celebrate you.
absolutely. Because it's something to celebrate because it is sometimes it is a lot and it's a big deal. Like what we're doing is a big deal, right?
That's a good reminder. I've been
Yeah.
trying to remind myself that this week actually. So I actually had chills when you said that. So it's like it
Yes.
just came full circle.
I need to tell myself that too,
I
right?
know,
Yes.
but it's hard when you're in it sometimes to just kind of be like, I did this thing, whatever. Like that's actually how I felt when I sold my business. People would always ask me like, "Oh my God, you must be so thrilled," and like da 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 da. And I'm like, I don't really feel anything,
It was
actually.
just like another thing that I did. Like no
Yeah,
biggie.
it's like whatever.
Moving on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, you know, what's interesting about that is I'll notice in myself, people will be like, wow, like you must be so proud of yourself. Like you have this successful group and you're doing consulting. Wow, this summit, Rachel, like this is big, right? And I'm just kind of like, oh, it's just like another thing that I'm doing. Like, it's just part of my day. And I think sometimes when like for me, when we put ourselves out there, we do get rejected, we do get judged, people do come at us in different aspects because we're putting ourselves out there. And I think sometimes to protect ourselves from that, we're just kind of like, I'm feeling nothing about anything. Like there's like this numbness or this, maybe it's dissociative at times or whatever. And that's protective, but it also doesn't allow us to like take in the good stuff too, right? It doesn't allow us to celebrate ourselves. I mean, we're really good at celebrating others, I think.
We are, and even I'm actually thinking of
Yeah.
Melissa in Ireland.
Yeah.
For people that are watching, we did hurling, which is like this sport, but really is just holding a ball on a paddle.
In
And
running. Yeah.
we had a competition, and like her and I tied, and then we had to have a tiebreaker. And I was like, I don't want to have a tiebreaker. I want you to win. I don't want to win. You should win.
That's funny. Yeah.
And it's true, like I think it definitely is a protective thing. And even this reminds me of Jane again, because the founders this weekend, um, they have built a 600-person business and they
Yeah.
started as clinic owners.
Yeah.
And people were saying the same thing. They're like, have you celebrated all of your success? And they were like, no, we're just always thinking of like the next thing. We don't really make time for that. We like minimize and um,
Yeah.
so I think a lot of us in this space experience that.
Yes, I feel like we need a whole talk now about how to take in the good
Yeah, we do.
and not feel the bad so profoundly, like be so, activated by some of like the negative or the criticism or right. So to
Yeah.
be able to take that in and be okay enough with it and also celebrate the good, like I guess a middle ground of how to take all of that in and discern what we should celebrate and what we should take with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it might be a whole thing we're experiencing.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
is, especially just right now in
Yeah.
the current state of things. I can understand why it feels hard to celebrate, but
Yeah.
those moments of joy, those glimmers are still super, super important. So,
There are, and I think we have to give ourselves permission to have those. Like when
yeah,
something does bring us joy, oh, well, I can't feel that joy because everything's on fire around us.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but we can't live in the fire. It's not like we totally ignore the fire and act like it's not burning, but like also we can take breaks from that and enjoy things that
Yeah,
bring us joy too. I think we sort of have to do that to survive this, maybe. Yeah,
we totally do.
yeah.
Um, okay, well, this was my glimmer of today. So
Yes, it was mine too. I loved it.
thank you for
Yeah.
being here. We had lots of people watching live, which is awesome. Thank you all for interacting and engaging. And I will post the link and tag Rachel for the summit. And is there anything else that people should know when signing up? We can tell you when it is. It's September 29th and 30th. I have
Yep,
it in my
September 29th and 30th of this 2025 in Grand Rapids. And for folks that are watching, we could also offer a discount code. Of the discount code is next level 50, and you can take $50 off your admission to the summit. We also have a couple of options. You can pay in full, or there's also a payment plan option for the summit. And so if folks are wanting to be more budget friendly, there's is that payment plan option as well. And you can use that code for either option. So I guess I would just add that
Cool.
as
That's
more info.
nice, actually, because it
Yeah.
doesn't always work that way.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, thank you again for being here. I will put everything below if you're thinking about coming. This is a great place to get connection. There's going to be 30 speakers. You will get continuing education. You will get clinical and business stuff, and you'll just get to connect with like-minded people. And you get to save 50 bucks. Next level 50, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
And I will link it below, and I will also tag Rachel, and she has a really helpful, amazing Facebook group too. So I'll tag that below as well.
Thank you so much for having me,
Thank
Gabrielle.
you. Have an amazing weekend.
Bye, everyone.